Do you fight fair in your relationship, or are you given to silent treatment when you have a tiff with your significant other? How do you sort out silent treatment? Who should break it? All right. That's what I want us to talk about. Good evening. My name is Eric, and this is Eric Stories. If it's your first time, hi, what's your name? Are you all right? Good to see you, and you look good. I am on Instagram and Twitter and also on YouTube. If you're new here, please catch up with previous stories you may not have seen, both on YouTube and on IGTV. The purpose of these conversations is so that you and I can grow and exchange ideas. I appreciate your perspective on things. It helps me grow as well. So please share it with me. As I keep saying, the purpose of knowing is doing. And when we know better, we ought to do better. All right? So one of the things that used to happen a lot in my relationships, at least two, not all of them, at least two, I dated somebody who was given to, we were both very young, I have to admit. I didn't know any better either. But, she was a talented sulker. And every time I would try bridge the gap, sometimes it was met with serious coldness, and then we'd go for days and weeks without talking. And so one of the things I purpose to do in the break that I still am in is to try and learn as much as I can around fixing challenges in a relationship. And one of the challenges, if you'd agree with me, is silent treatment. It's very rife, where you've had a tiff and then people don't talk. In fact, this one particular lady used to tell me that she's so proud, she'd rather die than send the first text after a fight. She wouldn't. She said her pride would not permit her to text first. So if the person she was dating would not reach out first, she'd rather the relationship ends. Yeah? So I thought that would be important. I've read countless materials. I put together some notes. If it's a challenge you have, as I did have, and I hope not to have a lot of, at least I want to share with you in ways that we can deal with it better, right? Are you ready? Good. So, who should break the silence after a fight? And what are some of the best ways to break the silence? That's a conversation we're having. And I said two women come to mind. One of them was gracious. She actually said, I think after 7 days of us not speaking, she just texted me and said, I'm really tired of this. Are we ever going to talk, or are we done? Oh my goodness. And I laughed like that, and we continued the relationship. Silence is a deliberate choice. While you can sit back and say, I've not said anything mean, I'm just quiet. So he can or she can misinterpret it whichever way they want. But me, I'm not done anything. Me, I'm just pissed and I'm quiet. I'm just here quiet. Duh, I can't be quiet now in this relationship. So you could say all those things. But what the other person on the receiving end of your silence hears is that they are needed and they are unimportant and they've ceased to count or to matter in the relationship. All right? Yeah? They've ceased to matter, and you don't want to pass that message, especially if you care about this person. As I keep saying, if you're 35 and above, or even 30, and you're lucky to hit 70, you literally have 35 years. And as anybody would, I would want to spend my next bunch of half of life better, instead of giving to sulking and grandstanding. Pride is not a virtue, it's a vice. And you know what happens after pride, eh? You know what comes after pride. Don't we? So if you're given to pride and those things, and knowing that life is so short, you want to abandon that. Anyway, if you care about the relationship, this is my thinking. Of course, as I keep saying, none of us has life figured out. We're all trying to get better. We're all trying to learn, myself included. In fact, of everybody else, if you put 10 people together, I am that person who needs this learning the most. So when in those two relationships, when those two people I was dating in different times were quiet, I would feel like they were saying, it doesn't count, they're okay without me, the relationship didn't matter. And when they kept longer in silence, I started getting sort of used to it. In fact, one relationship ended because of that, with that constant a silent treatment. And I was just like, you know what? It's never that serious. Cheers. So it can end. So while you're thinking you are proud and you're not going to reach out, he or she is feeling they don't need me, I'm not worthy, and they start getting used to being without you. So if you care about the relationship, you see that the silent treatment takes away than it gives, right? It does. All right. So how do you break the silence? How do you break the silent treatment? Before that, let's consider some given reasons people stay silent. Now, from my reading, a lot of psychologists say the partners stop talking because they fear what might happen after the conversation starts. This is why people decide to stay silent. Maybe something to have at the back of your mind, whether on the receiving end of silent treatment or if you're the one dishing it. They think, what if we talk and can't work it out? That's the first thought. What if I can't handle the answer they give me when I ask what's bothering them? That's the second thought. What if I share what's bothering me and they don't care? That's the third thought, and fear. Because if they don't care, that means it's the end of a relationship and I'll feel so bad. So these are some of the things that are playing on their minds, hence their reason for staying silent. How do you break the silence? Now, this is where I hope you are mature enough, as I'm trying to be, to learn that it's not a contest about who is proud and who is subservient and who is the warrior and who can stay quiet the longest. If you are given to pride and you'd rather die, like the lady who was telling me, than start a conversation, then probably just continue cutting the onions or just roll over and sleep. It's not for you. But if you care about the relationship enough to want to fix it, then maybe this is for you. Ways to break this silence, I've come to learn, is by first and foremost acknowledging that there is silence. You don't pretend around it. You don't pretend that you're not silent at each other. You acknowledge it. Start by acknowledging the silence. You could text him or her with a phrase that can hopefully break the silence. And I went through the trouble of jotting down ideas I think would work. You remember the example I've given you of the lady who said she's tired of the silence? Are we done? Or what's happening? Yeah, so I jotted down a few phrases I think you could use, especially now if he or she is not talking to you and you want to break the silence. Number one, a text. Hi, we haven't talked lately. Alfayo, we've not talked lately. I've been feeling sad and lonely and abandoned and just haven't known how to bring it up. Then you send the text. Alfayo will read the message. It's sort of an opener. If he's smart enough, he would go like, you know what? Let me reply and say, yeah, you know, it's easy. Yes, I know we have hit a snag, but we should talk, yada, yada, yada. Okay? A second example would be, hi, I'm not sure what's going on, but I feel we haven't really spoken well in the past 3 weeks. All right? Do you have time to talk tonight? That particular relationship, this chick would go quiet for even 4 weeks. All right? 5 weeks. 7 weeks. Yeah, because she would not see herself or bring herself to talk. I think that's a good example of a message you can shoot. I miss you. This requires vulnerability. Vulnerability is attractive. When you're vulnerable, you can actually get closer, from my experience. So if you're proud, this is definitely not something you would do. But if you're vulnerable, at the end of this conversation or text, and when you guys patch up the differences, I feel your relationship will be stronger because you've shown vulnerability. I miss you. We don't really talk anymore. All right? And I'm not sure why. I also haven't asked because I'm afraid you may not own up to it, but I miss you. And I miss us. You see how that can work, Eliza? It could. Because it'll be like, aww. But only if you're grown up and mature. Only. That's when you can afford to be vulnerable. But if you're still playing games like, hey, nijikute, nikiambia mwanaume na miss. Let me find myself telling a grown man with beards that I miss them. I'd rather die. That's not for you. So you just go die, right? All right? So vulnerability does draw people closer. And I think it's very important that you just own up and say, I miss you. I feel like I don't know what's going on. I'm confused. I don't want to fight, but I really miss you. And I don't know where we are at, but I miss us. Okay? Try it. Even you as a brother, try vulnerability. But please be mature if you're the recipient of such a text. Don't go like, hey, screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. See who spoke first. He did. I am the queen. I am the queen. I am the queen. That's weird. Yeah, so you want to grow up a little. Okay? Other examples of being more vulnerable, I think, especially when you care so much about this relationship. All right? You want to state your fears more transparently. Okay? You want to state your fears more transparently, because don't get me wrong, I know how uncomfortable it is. I've been in this situation where somebody's not speaking with you and you just feel like, oh my God, how long is this going to go for? So state your fears more transparently. I know I'm not the best communicator. You're owning up to your part of the blame. All right? Alfayo, as Lucy, I know I'm not the best communicator. But, again, more vulnerability. I'm nervous that we are going to end up in a fighting match, and I really don't want to fight with you. I want us to work this out together. You see, Lucy or Alfayo, you text him that, or she texts you that. If you're mature, you'll be like, yeah, Alfayo, thank you so much for this. How is Saturday evening to talk about or to talk things through? Another way to show vulnerability. Hi, I don't want you to feel under attack here. I know I am also to blame too. But this conversation has to start from somewhere. Our relationship is too important for me. Then you put a period and you shoot the text. What do you think? How do you break the silence? Do you say you miss them, or you say, okay, how long is this thing going to go on for? Or do you just keep quiet and hope, they'll come around? How do you break the silence? How? How, Rhoda? How? Let me know in the comment section. Good evening.